So, thank you very much for the kind introduction. And first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude for Taiwan Academy of Banking and Finance for inviting me here. And also, I would like to thank Taipei FinTech Space, since they have been a very good partner with our FINOLAB for some years. And FINOLAB is a similar organization as FinTech Space, where we have 57 FinTech startup members and also 30 corporate members, including our regulator financial service agency, to promote FinTech ecosystem in Japan. And today, I would like to cover financial fraud, particularly targeting at senior people. And starting from explaining what is the situation in Japan, and also covering what is the trend in financial fraud, and also explaining some of the preventive solutions, and also some aspect of new AI, and conclude with some remarks. And in Japan, we are already experiencing a declining population. In the past 10 years, we experienced 3.3% of decline population. And also, we are experiencing a declining birth rate. Although you need 2.1% to maintain the stable population, we have reached 1.2 in 2023, and it's going to decline further. And I understand that you have a similar situation here in Taiwan. And now we're going into a super aging society. Now about 35% of the total population is over 60, 30% is over 65, and 20% is over 75. So you can imagine that 1 out of 5 is over 75. And within 20 years, the population over 60 is expected to reach 40%. And also, we are observing that the ratio of single household among senior people over 65 is increasing for both male and female. This year, about 29% of the female and 26% of male is predicted to be a single household, which would put some problem for financial service as well, because if someone passed away, financial institution would try to find who would inherit the asset. But in these cases, there's no one to inherit. And also, there is a problem of increasing dementia or going senile. So now about 4.7 million people, or 12.9% of senior people over 65 is estimated to be dementia, and that will increase to 15.1% in 2015 and 2050. And that will put big pressure on the society as a whole, and also financial institutions now starting to have problem how to judge whether senior person can make his or her decision in healthy ways. And on the other hand, there are big concentration of national wealth for senior people. And for example, currently about 60 senior people over 65 consist of 30% of the population, but they own more than half of the national wealth. So, to summarize these things, an aging society has become one of the most critical social issues in Japan, with ratios of senior population increasing, single household increasing, and dementia number increasing. And that would lead to the fact that senior people are very vulnerable, and it's getting worse. So their cognitive is declining, and social isolation is happening, and also digital literacy gaps between the young people and the senior people is there. On the other hand, senior people have accumulated more wealth than the younger people. So concentration of wealth is there, but the shift of wealth from senior age group to younger people are not becoming smooth. It only happens at the time of inheritance. And that would lead to the fact that the senior population would become a main target of these financial fraud. And the overall financial fraud is increasing over the years. And for the year, in the recent figure from the Law Enforcement Authority shows that 65% of these fraud victims fall into the senior people over 65 years old. And if we go to see what are the components of these financial fraud, first, direct theft, like cash, gold, jewelry, ATM card, or bank account. That consists of 90%. I mean, senior people are victim of these fraud cases of 90%. And for financial exploitation, like investment scams or reward lotteries frauds, or real estate, or reverse mortgage fraud, for that, senior population consists of 60%, 80%. And then emotional manipulation, like impersonation or romance scam or charity donation fraud. These financial fraud, for that, senior population consists of about 60%. And lastly, digital deception, like phishing or tech support or subscription scams. Currently, senior people consist of 40%, but this figure is increasing over time. So in the early days of internet, very few seniors have become these digital deception, because relatively small number of people among seniors were using these digital tools. But now many of them are starting to use them, and also mobile smartphone is penetrating even for the senior people. So the number of victims becoming victims of fraud for senior people is increasing. So now I'd like to go into these digital fraud. So the number of phishing is increasing. And phishing is around for some years, but now the phishing is becoming more and more sophisticated. And there are voice phishing or short message phishing called smishing or vishing. These new types of phishing is coming in. So for example, voice phishing. So typical case is if you answer a phone, they'll tell you this is the financial service agency and your account has been placed on a blacklist and maybe suspended. So in order to continue your account activities, you need to follow these orders, and you need to disclose your account number or PIN number or passport number, all the personal details. And it used to be the case that these calls will come in from human beings or callers. But now, with the AI, many of these calls come in with AI devices, so that you would first call, respond, and think that it's real human beings, but actually you're talking to AI. And in some cases, once you reach to a certain point, actual human being will come in. So these voice phishing is becoming more sophisticated. And also there are many variations to these voice phishings. Some fraudsters will introduce themselves as police or like tax office. And there are many cases of smishing or SMS phishing. If you get the short message saying that your delivery is stopped because you haven't provided the proper address or phone number, and then if you once respond to it, you will disclose all the personal details. And some of these things are used on a smartphone with URLs and different variation. And sometimes they will ask for credit card information. And one of the features of these smishing is that on the smartphone short message, there are very limited information displayed compared with the email. So it's quite difficult to tell who is sending these messages. And especially for older, senior people, they tend to believe that the short message is something that you need to respond. So there are many solutions trying to solve these fraud attempts. So one is call blocking. Since many of these financial frauds start from phone, nowadays smartphone. So there are some tools to detect the number used for these scam attempts. And there are several solutions out there. And in Japan, police are now recommending some of the phone which would give certain capability to detect these scam numbers. And also, there are scam detection. So currently, we are observing many of these AI tools are used to apply for these scam detection. So they would look at short message or email or chat application to detect that some of the typical phrases used for these scam schemes. And they will alert you when it looks suspicious. And there are several solutions out there, but in Japan, one of the mobile network operator is adopting this solution so that their customer would have a capability to get alert if these scam attempts is coming in. And also, there are many ways to detect anomaly if something is skeptical. So they look at IP address or device information or access pattern or transaction details. And it's not just these single factors, but combining all these things, they would come up with the certain score. And once the score reached to a certain point, certain threshold, they'll give alert to a financial institution or a credit card company. Then there are several actions that the financial institution or credit card company can do, either to stop payment or delay payment or freeze account or report to a regulatory authority. And also there are some biometrics authentication coming in, either using a fingerprint or face recognition or palm vein or other iris, whole body or motion patterns. And one of the advantages of using biometrics for senior people is that they don't have to memorize the password, or they don't need to repeat phrases, and just your biometric information can be used to recognize yourself. And some of the ATMs have adopted this face recognition. And another interesting solution is using alternative data. So recently, a company called Cowlis in Japan, it is our FINOLAB company, but they have partnered with a power supply company, and they came up with a solution called Grid Data KYC. So for KYC, Know Your Customer, at the account opening, they would use the data provided by power supply company. So if someone claims that they are living in certain address, then the power supply company can check whether the name of the person is actual person living and paying the power bill, electricity bill, not. And in some cases, often fraudsters would use the empty house as address to open account. And this method can be applied to continuous customer management. In some years, some people would move, and the address and the name may not match after some years. And the financial institution can detect if someone has moved from one address to another. So this was recently started. So there are different ways of using data to detect these fraudsters. And there are many cases of collaboration. Financial institutions are starting to work with the regulators. So every financial institutions need to report to regulators if suspicious transaction happen. And the regulators now are trying to gather these information and also work with law enforcement authority, police, to have some database. And also banks are working with telecom companies, and also fintech startups are working with the traditional banks, and also government with community organization. And also international cooperation is happening. So Japanese regulators are having knowledge sharing with Asian regulators like Singapore or even here in Taiwan. And fraud prevention is not a competitive area among financial institutions. So it is quite important to have a collaborative relationship. And now I'd like to briefly explain about how AI is coming into this picture. And criminals are quite smart to use these new AI. And deep fake has been used in different areas, like in Hong Kong, company lost 200 million Hong Kong dollars after scammers used a deep fake video call to impersonate the CFO and required a money transfer. And similar thing happened in different places. And as we saw in the past, you can create the video just with the photo and also text, and pretend that you're a person who's creating the video. So now eKYC or KYC using a smartphone in Japan would accept the ID, taking a photo of ID and also trying to use the camera of the smartphone to make sure that the person is living or actually there. But because of the deep fake generative AI, now it's possible to make the person move and create the video and having some gestures so that these KYC may not be relevant anymore. So the Japanese financial regulator decided to stop using this eKYC from April 2027. Maybe that's too late, but many of the financial institutions are starting to prepare for that. So for individual identification, now online ID check using the selfies and ID photo will no longer be effective. So we would move to My Number card, which is the national ID card with the chip solution. And also for corporate verifications, copies of ID documents are not relevant anymore. So these changes are affecting all the KYC. So I would like to conclude now with the remarks that financial fraud for senior is increasing, and increasing cases of digital crime is, especially targeting senior people, are becoming more and more serious. And these fighting with fraud, financial fraud, is never-ending story. So the fraudster would always try to use the best-in-class technology, and financial institution or credit card company need to prepare for that. But once you come up with the solution, the fraudster will come up with something which would beat that. So it's a never-ending story, but we need to have a collaboration in order to fight for this. So thank you very much.